Welcome to the podcast where we discuss all about Bethlehem and its future. I'm your host, Ryan Conrad. We're diving into the stories, ideas, and people that make our community shine. So let's talk Bethlehem. All right, episode 3, we're back with Let's Talk Bethlehem, and I am so excited to have Gary on today to talk a little bit about his lifelong contribution to Bethlehem and his love for Bethlehem. And just I've known him for a long time, my whole life, and just a wonderful person. And I'm just so glad to have him here to talk with me today.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. And so you've been a part of Bethlehem for decades and running and operating Bethlehem Pharmacy, owning commercial real estate, running Bethlehem Pharmacy. You know, what's kept you so invested in the community?
Well, I actually I tell people I grew up in Hickory. Actually, our family lived about 5 miles west of Hickory, and it was kind of a rural area. We lived adjacent to my grandparents, who had a fairly large farm, and most of our neighbors were family. I graduated from Hickory High in 1967, and from there I attended UNC Chapel Hill School of Pharmacy and graduated from there in 1972.
Yeah, that's what I got here, 1972.
Yeah. While I was in college, I worked at Viewmont Pharmacy.
Okay.
I've come home for weekends and work or over holidays, and after I graduated, they hired me as a staff pharmacist, and I stayed there for 2.5 years. There was another pharmacy in the Viewmont area called King's Drugs, and one of the owners and I just happened to eat breakfast together, and we got started talking about his plans. They wanted to open a pharmacy in Bethlehem. And I saw that as an opportunity for ownership. And so we got together, and in January of 1975, we opened Bethlehem Pharmacy. And actually, they're doing a little celebration within the week or two for the 50th anniversary.
Wow.
I worked at Bethlehem as an owner until 2011. And I did have a business partner, Gene Hensley, and by then we decided it was time to sell and let some younger guys take over. We had conversations with CVS and several independents, and through Phil Eichert, who's a pharmacist in Taylorsville, he introduced me and Karen to Nathan Powers and his wife,
Nathan
Gina.
Powers. Yeah.
And we really felt Nathan would be a good fit for Bethlehem.
I agree.
So in June of 2011, Gene and I sold our interest in the pharmacy to Nathan and his partner, Mark Richards. After that, Nathan asked me to stay on and work part-time, and I ended up working probably another 9 years part-time. And then September of 2022, I told him it was time for me to retire. So I gave up my position at.
Was that hard for you to let go of that, or?
By then, it wasn't hard in the sense of actually being an active pharmacist, but over almost 50 years, your customers are your family and good friends, and that really was the hardest part. Now, luckily, I'll go in the pharmacy now as a customer, and I usually run into people I've known for forever.
Yeah.
The good thing about coming out to Bethlehem, it was a good fit for me. In 1975, it was very rural. There were some housing developments, some business, but so many of the people grew up like I did, kind of little farm or having animals, and so I really connected, I think, and my seniors that I got to know were just wonderful. They had time. They weren't rushing to a job or anything. They had time to talk, and so I felt like I really connected with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And of course now I'm one of those seniors. So
it's funny how things kind of
circle around.
Yeah. So you're So I was going to talk a little bit about business and growth and commercial growth and stuff in Bethlehem. You own Bethlehem Shopping Village.
Correct.
And which has been a huge part of the community with, it looks like there's still 8 acres that are undeveloped over there just to the left of Mount Pisgah. Is that correct?
What we have, Ron Medlin and I were able to buy the shopping center in 1997, and at that time it was only the old building, that dark brown brick building, and it was 36,000 square feet. And so we purchased that along with Harold Pittman, who is no longer a partner. He wanted to get out. And in 2000, we were able to build a new building for Lowe's Foods. And their building is 46,000 square feet. And then in 2017, we built the new Ace Hardware, and it is almost 17,000 square feet.
Yeah. And then that other property I was talking about, that's where it was Barbara's Diner at one point?
Correct.
And that was leveled, and there's just a little road and some cleared land out there now.
We bought that 30 years ago, and the property, it was 11 acres, was owned by Artie and Partee Bolick, and they were just a wonderful couple. I actually got invited to their 75th wedding anniversary,
Wow.
So they both lived a real long time, and one of Artie's daughters stopped by the pharmacy, and she said, if you're interested in Mother's property, you better go talk to her. So I did, and we bought that acreage. And 2 years ago, we cleared the front 4 acres, that front on Highway 127, and made 2 2-acre lots with a new driveway. The gentleman who owns Mexico Viejo bought the corner lot with S&K Road, and he's going to eventually build a new restaurant building.
I heard that was going to move over there.
And then several months ago, we sold the 2-acre lot adjacent to Mount Pisgah, and that now is owned by Catawba Valley Medical Center.
Okay.
So that left us with 6.5 to 7 acres on the back of the property, and that's still grown up in trees. And currently, we do not have any plans for that, even though we.
Are you thinking that's going to be like a medical clinic there, like an emergency center sort of thing?
The front,
the Catawba Valley part.
I honestly, during all the 6-7 months transaction, I never spoke with anybody actually from Catawba Valley Medical. I was always dealing with a realtor.
Okay.
And so, but I assumed they're going to probably build a new medical clinic.
That would be good. I mean, it like especially on weekends, if somebody has an emergency or somewhere they need to go, you got to go all the way into Viewmont to get care.
But I do not know if they have urgent care
This is all speculation. We don't know for sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, that could be promising though,
Right.
to have something like that. Were the plans to have like a sort of another plaza center? Is that still a thing, or is that kind of
No, we never really made any definitive plans for that site.
okay?
But it is zoned highway commercial, and it really needs to be. We could use more commercial property or buildings in Bethlehem.
Yeah. Cool.
We do have a half-acre lot directly in front of Lowe's that is beside the Bumgarner gas facility. And we've talked a number of times with a gentleman who owns a restaurant who would like to relocate there.
Okay.
So that may or may not work out.
That's exciting too. To get something new in Bethlehem
Exactly,
for a
yeah.
restaurant, other than just fast food and.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah. So you're a part of the Bethlehem Business Association, BBA, and the community involvement. And I'm assuming that there's probably a lot of people that are listening that don't even know what that is. And I don't want to make this the whole center about this because there's a lot of other stuff I'd love to talk about with you. But you are a member there, so I thought we'd just touch it for a quick moment.
Okay.
And just say, like, you're as an active BBA member, what role do you see the organization playing in supporting local businesses? And maybe just give like your quick 1,000-foot view of what BBA is for any folks that don't know what that is.
The original intent for that is almost like a Chamber of Commerce. And we're not associated with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce or anything. We just formed our own organization with a little bit of help from the Catawba County Chamber. The membership's very reasonable. It's $50 a year. And
anyone can join, right?
Right, any business can join. And we have a meeting every other month on the third Tuesday of the month. We probably have about 30 active businesses that attend from time to time. I forget the number of actual businesses in Bethlehem, but it's quite a bit more than that. And we try to grow our organization. Some of the things that we do, you probably noticed the new signage as you come across the bridge.
Yep. I know exactly where you're
That was one of our projects.
That's awesome.
And then we put some smaller signs on the secondary roads. We try to visit or have somebody host us for each meeting. Several months ago, Taylorville Savings and Loan hosted us at the bank after hours. Had a lot of food, and we do introductions and tell a brief story about our business. And then the most recent one, we met at the new Starbucks. And they did a coffee tasting, and then we had a speaker. It's probably last winter, we met at El Baton restaurant. They hosted us, and Sheriff Chad Pennell.
I just had him last week in here.
Great speaker and really dynamic person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And in that realm of just like helping and help promoting in local business, inevitably I would love to get more businesses to come into the podcast and talk.
Right.
And it would be a great way to just get some free advertisement, talk about your business a little bit, let the community know that what you're all about, and have people frequent their businesses just by coming on the podcast and
Yeah.
talking. So that's long term. Right now it's been sort of like local key
Yeah.
figures in Bethlehem, but I really want to get some local businesses to come in here too, because there's only so many like people that I can bring in until I want to do something else that's more useful and helpful for Bethlehem. So
Right.
jumping on to the alcohol referendum, you played a key role in helping pass that in Bethlehem, and I remember my dad helped a little bit, and I just want to say, first off, thanks for all of your help to do that, because I think it really has shown a lot of growth in Bethlehem since that's happened. I mean, geez, think about once that passed. Do you want to talk a little bit about like the new things that were brought in just from that happening? I mean, there was these rumors, there's all this terrible things were going to come afterwards, and just rhetoric that I would say, like, just, I don't know. I could leave that to myself and more about like your thought here, but I just wanted to say first, thanks for helping do that and also in keeping that money in the county, but also, what have you seen personally, like growth wise, since that's happened? Well,
let me talk just briefly about prior to the referendums. I got some literature from the Western Piedmont Council of Governments, and about once a year they did a study, and it showed how revenue is shared among the 4 counties. Mm-hmm. And the shocking thing was how much revenue Alexander County residents spent in Hickory. Mm-hmm. And just those things made me want to do something. Mm-hmm. And all these other people that worked on it. Another thing that was really surprising, North Carolina has a website. I think it's still up. And what it showed was alcohol-related crash rates mm-hmm. per county. Alexander County, prior to the referendum, it was the second driest county in the state mm-hmm. because it only had off-premise beer and wine mm-hmm. sales in Taylorsville. However, we also had the second highest alcohol-related crash rate.
Yeah, they're making much longer trips to go and get those things.
Yeah. And then we also knew people had to leave Bethlehem for restaurants, and mm-hmm. and people would leave Bethlehem to shop for their groceries, mm-hmm. where they could also buy alcohol if they chose to.
Yeah.
And so that was hurting our Lowe's store. Mm-hmm. So in 2012, a group of us got together, and we actually started putting some things together, talking to the county commissioners, meeting with the commissioners to encourage them to call for a referendum. Mm-hmm. And eventually we did have a referendum in 2013. The referendum was freestanding, which is not helpful. Mm-hmm. And we ended up losing by like 4 percentage points. Mm-hmm. Luckily, by 2016, they were more receptive, and they called for another referendum, and that was going to be with the general election. Mm-hmm. We put together a team to really promote the referendum.
I remember helping a little bit. I wasn't much help, but I did the much as I could at the time. So.
Right. We contacted some people who do this. They ended up helping us and had some great advice. But we had, I don't know how many people involved that worked on this, but it was a huge group. And we planned well, we promoted it well, and made a good case for why Alexander County would benefit from having alcohol sales.
I knew all along that it would pass. It's just a matter of getting people out to go vote. because we knew the people that didn't want it, they were really quick to get out there to vote.
Exactly.
But it's the people that really could make a difference. We had to get those folks out there to vote.
Yeah.
I remember that being a big part of it. All good things there. So I'm going to throw a little curveball and talk about farmers market just for a second.
Okay. All right.
It was before I'd even thought about talking to you about this. I had mentioned it to a couple of friends of mine, like, okay, farmers market in Bethlehem, that would be so cool if we could have something like that. And they're like, wait, there was already a farmers market. I'm like, what? There was? I didn't even know anything about it. So the thing, I think it was held at Mount Bethel.
Correct. Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it. And I just thought, I wonder, so I reached out to this lady. We've kind of been playing phone tag a little bit because she owns a farm that put it all together. And I was curious if you knew, like, did she, and maybe you don't know this at all, because I was hoping to know before you came in here a little bit more information about it. But I wasn't sure if it was a success, a failure, if she plans on doing it again this summer or not. And did you know anything about that at all?
I knew they were hosting one at Mount Bethel, but I really didn't know anything else about it. Mm-hmm. And it would certainly be beneficial if an organization like Mount Bethel or even the county might allow one at the community park.
Yeah,
they're obviously very beneficial, and they're really more. They're about produce, but a lot more. Yeah. There's crafts. A lot of them.
Yeah, I've been to the ones in Hickory, and it's really, really grown and expanded over the years. And I've seen a lot of people from Alexander County that come over to that area. Mm-hmm. And it almost made me think, okay, so in order to not compete with that, because they want to go where the most people are, right?
Sure.
If you're trying to sell your stuff. So if we did have one, to make sure that it didn't happen during the same time that the one in Hickory happens.
Right, that would and not be helpful. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the marketer, I'm not promoter I'm of any of this. I'm just kind of talking about it just to maybe spark some interest in a couple people. I know you have a lot of property. Maybe we could have a more centralized place where people could see it. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I just thought I would put the bug in your ear and maybe down the road we could figure out something to have something more permanent. So... yeah.
Well, it could, I think, be very successful. We, as a shopping center, we really don't have the room or an available lot because it's that front lot. I think you had mentioned to me is the one the restaurant's considering.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know anything about that. I had actually heard that from a friend of mine too. That there was plans to have something right there with that old insurance company was torn down. Anything you can share with us on that?
I have to keep that confidential.
Okay, sure, no problem.
I'm certainly hoping it works out. It'd be a good restaurant for Bethlehem.
Yeah, and it's for folks that may not know what that is, like we're in between the new gas station with Little Caesars and O'Reilly's.
Correct.
We're talking about right in between there.
Right.
Yeah, it's for those that aren't sure what we were talking about there. Yeah, that's cool. So, I would love to see a farmer's market succeed. Right. And I didn't know anything about it, so if there's any way that I can help promote that. I do graphic design and web design, all this other stuff. So whoever's putting that together, please reach out to me so we can let more people know about it. Let's put it in the newspaper.
And maybe that's a project the Bethlehem Business Association ought to.
So you never know, like maybe this tiny little conversation here could grow to something much bigger. So I just wanted to bring that up to have it that.
All right, sure.
Let's get on to a little more of a hot topic, the Incorporation.
Right.
So I wanted to start by saying I heard a story. A friend of yours, a pretty key person in Bethlehem, that actually went out to the polls. They didn't have their ear to the ground quite like we had about what was going on here right in our neighborhood about this development that's happening, and then this incorporation process. And this particular person and his wife went to the polls, and they signed a petition. And almost to the point where, it's to my understanding, it's almost like a stranglehold to get them to sign. It was like very intense. And then they actually went and retracted their signatures.
I think
you have any more?
My understanding of that, they were going into a meeting about the incorporation, and there was some people outside, and they asked them if they wanted to sign this for more information, to get more information about the possible incorporation. And they signed, and then a little bit later realized they had actually signed the petition. So they called...
That makes my blood boil.
They called the Board of Elections, and I don't know if you register a complaint, but they shared that with the Board of Elections and had their names taken off.
Yeah.
Because they're not in favor of an incorporation either.
Yeah. I would love to know who they encountered. I mean, it can only be about 3 or 4 people that I know that were there doing that, but the fact that they told them that this was just to get more information
Correct.
is so misleading. I don't know. I'd have so much more to say about that, but there's other stuff we can talk about too. Everyone should know here that you've been very vocal about your stance with incorporation. You're completely against it, correct?
That's right.
You have any past experiences with incorporation efforts here in Bethlehem and what impacts did you find in that journey?
In the year 2000, there was a committee formed to look into incorporation at that time. And I was asked to serve on that committee. We met multiple times. I think the committee lasted 16 to 18 months. The last thing we did was send a survey to all of the residents in that incorporated area.
That I wanted to hear that because I wanted to make sure that was true. And I mean, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth that you actually did have a survey.
We did.
And
when about a third of the surveys we mailed out came back, and they were overwhelmingly against incorporation.
Do you remember the stats on that by chance?
I don't remember that. That's been a while.
Yeah.
But the thing that as I sat on that committee and realized there were people who were on that or pushing for incorporation who didn't seem to be part of Bethlehem. They might have a house here, but they never did anything in the community.
Yeah.
I
still feel like a lot of people...
They weren't involved. And when the petition was returned and it was totally against incorporation, I was relieved. I certainly did not feel it was the right thing to do then. And for multiple reasons, I feel like it's not the right thing to do now. There's reasons to truly incorporate, and those are to get services. Well, if you look at Bethlehem, we have all the services we need. We have a very good sheriff's department. They've always been very responsive. We have a really good fire rescue department. Actually, I think they're going to build a second site. Is what I've heard.
I heard about that too.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm hoping to have Ashley on to just talk about what's going on with them too. So
Right. Yeah. Zoning and planning we get from the county. We have water and sewer. 2.5 to 3 years ago, we had an extensive sewer expansion. And what's going on right now with the water, There's been areas in the community, and I think the shopping center also dealt with it. We had low hydrant pressure. You may or may not be aware of, there's going to be a new water tower built behind PJ's restaurant.
I heard a small rumor about it, but it was so small that I didn't bring it up. But that'll be a good thing.
Yeah, PJ sold the Alexander County. I think it's about 2 acres behind his restaurants because that's a high elevation. And then the county utility department and the shopping center, we've been working together. They will need access to the tower to do maintenance. So we've granted them access through the shopping center. And then the lines from that tower, the actual water supply to the tower, and then the lines leaving the tower, they needed an easement through the shopping center. So we've granted them an easement so they can bring those lines out to 127, kind of in front of our main driveway.
Yeah. Any kind of water independence we can gain would be good.
Right.
That's cash cow.
If and when Highway 127 gets widened, there are going to be new water lines, larger water lines under 127.
Yeah, this kind of comes back, and I want to go back to this because it just it sort of baffles me a little bit. And I know I already mentioned it in the previous podcast, maybe the first one I had with Josh Lale, but the fact that to hear from you and to confirm that there was basically just a pulse check with the community on, is this something that you want, says everything about your intentions. In my mind, back in 2000, when y'all did that, you were thinking, is this something we want to do? But not only is it should we do it, but does the community actually want it? And that's the thing that bothers me so much about it. And I know I've said this before, but I'm just going to say it again. The thing that bothers me the most is the married couple that's trying to do this doesn't seem to really care all that much to be out front about what they're doing. And I know it feels like they may feel like they're reaching a lot of people, but I mean, you might be more up to date on the population in Bethlehem, but the last I heard it was I've heard it was all the way from 7,000 to only 4,000, but I don't know. Maybe you know the numbers a little more than I do.
Honestly, I haven't looked at it recently.
Yeah.
We can get some of that through the EDC, and I just have not had an update on it.
I swear I think I saw somewhere it was somewhere around 6,000, and I think they had to get 15% signatures. We've already have one testament of a friend, a married couple, that basically were lied to get a signature. And it's just hard-pressed to me to believe that all 1,000 people that signed that knew exactly what they were signing.
Well, that would be interesting. I know the Board of Election has to review any kind of petition.
Yeah, they did have to go in every single. I can confirm that I was remember who exactly I was talking to, but when it went to the Alexander County BOE, that they had to individually check everyone to make sure that the address was in the voting district 1 and 2 of Bethlehem. So I do know that they had to go through and check all of them, and the more than likely they're all valid signatures. But the thing that bothers me the most is how the people that actually did give the signatures, how much they knew about what is going on. And I think it's our civic duty that if it does come to a vote, that even those people, even those 1,000 out of the 4,000 or 8,000, whatever it is in Bethlehem, absolutely know what they're signing up for if this comes to a vote. And again, I'm going to say it again, that back in 2000, you guys made sure that everybody in Bethlehem knew what your intentions were, and you said, okay, you guys don't want it, we're going to back off. But they don't seem to care about that at all.
And that is something that concerns me because I have read through the North Carolina general statutes about incorporating cities, towns, municipalities. And one thing that is disturbing is that the petition not only requires 15% of the registered voters to move to a committee at the General Assembly.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I hope we have a referendum.
I can confirm we've
and
talked
then
with Eddie Settle.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know for certain what people want then.
Yeah. We've talked with Eddie Settle. We've had a lot of people reach out to people that are going to look at it, the people that get it in legislation, and they have all told us the same thing, that signatures don't make a town, but votes will. Mm-hmm. And there will absolutely be a referendum vote if it gets passed. Okay. We did confirm that, which is a good thing. And I hate that that's how far it has to go, but that may be what it takes.
Well,
so
good. Well, that would be great if we do have the referendum. So
I don't have my phone with me, but there was a post on the Taylorsville Times yesterday, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it was in lieu of the county commissioners meeting that happened. I want to say it was maybe Tuesday, and the folks that are going that are driving this incorporation thing went in and made to be like it was to be frank, it was almost like a hate speech or like they went on there and basically just said, we don't get support anybody. We've been made scapegoats, and we have been I don't know, they've made them played out like they're this huge victim, and all along they're the folks that are continuing to roll this train, and nobody seems to really be on the train except the people in their group, which is not all that big, and I'd be hard-pressed to believe that there's a whole lot beyond that. But what really bothered me, what I read that was interesting on this Taylorsville Times post about that meeting was there was a mention that they had I wish I had my phone with it because I would read it verbatim, but it said something along the lines of Hickory has given, basically in so many words, their blessing to do what they wanted to do. And I'm just thinking, okay, Hickory's got their blessing, the legislators have got it now, but they still have yet to really publicly reach out to everybody in the community and get the people that live here's blessing, not Hickory. I mean, I think I know technically why they wanted Hickory's blessings, because if you want to incorporate a town, it has to be within so many miles of another incorporation. I think that's why. But beyond that, what sort of blows my mind is why that was even a topic for them. I mean, who cares if they got Hickory's blessing? Great, but what are the people that live in Bethlehem? Do you have the people in Bethlehem's blessing?
That's exactly right.
And so that's what I was thinking all along the way.
Well, one of the other things that concerns me about this, me and a lot of other people in this community have worked hard to help this community grow, to add businesses. We certainly don't have enough housing, and I think their goal is to I don't know that they could stop this development.
No, they can't. It's done deal. They just cleared land 2 weeks ago for the new sewer system. It's a done deal.
Okay, but we need everywhere needs more housing, and especially Bethlehem. Our school population has declined. Mm-hmm. Our overall county population has declined, and this will help.
Yeah,
this will bring customers for the businesses in Bethlehem, mm-hmm. and I'm afraid what they're trying to do may hinder growth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's a really interesting thing. I could keep going about this, but I'm just going to try to keep it as PC as possible. But it just is, the whole process is just kind of mind-blowing. They continue to keep going and going and going. The one thing, going back to that Taylorsville Times post, if you happen to find it, go and read the comments. There are probably, I just looked at it an hour ago, there were over, I want to say at least 200 comments. And it was like, no, we don't want this. We don't want this. Why are they doing this? We don't want, I mean, I'm telling you, Gary, every single comment was no.
No, okay.
And it's just, I mean, you can't base that off of everybody in Alexandria County, but if that's one small little snippet of the rest of the county, I mean, it's, if I were these other folks, I would be a little bit skeptical at this point why you're continuing to do this.
Let's hope we put a stop to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I want to cover this one thing, and then we'll move on from it.
Sure.
You own a lot of property. You pay probably a whole lot of property taxes. And the newest thing now, and this is, I want to kind of cover this from the commercial property standpoint and farmland, because now the new thing is save our farmland. So my first thought was, if the folks that are trying to do this are saying save the farmland, it just seems very misleading to me, because successful farmers don't sell their land.
That's right.
And again, this is not Russia. Nobody comes in and says, well, we're going to just build something right here, right on your farmland. You can't legally do that. So I don't see farmland going away. It seems more like just a scare tactic to get people to move.
I thought that was a strange comment from this group. But also, if I was farming and I had an offer on my property and I was ready to retire or sell, I'd want to sell my farmland.
Right.
Well, the regulations this group puts into place prevent me from doing what I want to do with my land. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a good zoning program, which obviously is mandated by the state of North Carolina.
Yeah,
so it could take care of those issues.
Yeah, I could still say they're still going on about it's only going to be 5% on the property tax rate, and that's all fine and dandy if, like, you're at $150,000, $200,000 house, $1 million house, it's going to go up. But what about the business owners that have millions of dollars of property value? That's astronomically more money of the people that help drive the economy here in Bethlehem. So, I mean, it just all seems backwards to me, and I don't know.
Yeah. Let's hope it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on from that. Great conversations nonetheless, even though it's kind of an unfortunate thing going on.
Have to deal with.
Yeah, that we're having to deal with. But so you're an avid tennis player. I always love to just like share with people, like, and you've played tennis your whole life, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and you still play regularly?
I try to play 2 or 3 times a week. It's certainly not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah.
But tennis has been a big part of my life, and Karen plays tennis. A real interesting little footnote. Karen and I were in pharmacy school at the same time, but she was, as she reminds me, I was older. And so we did not know each other at pharmacy school. We actually met playing tennis in Hickory at the old Hickory Foundation Center, which is now the Y. So, we have, tennis is great for the physical activity. We have friends that we still see regular that we met playing tennis 40 years ago. And then I get a wife also from
Yeah,
tennis.
that worked out good. I do have to ask, there's this massive craze with pickleball. Have y'all ventured into that avenue at all, or is it still diehard tennis?
No, we've played a little pickleball, and I thought a good friend of mine stated it best. He said, well, I like pickleball, but I love tennis. And that's the way we are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Totally different game.
when I was in college, up at App State, I was with Will Baumgartner.
Oh, yeah.
We went and played racquetball, and I've always been okay at tennis, but we absolutely loved doing. I had never played, and he kicked my butt for months, and then we finally, the only one we knew of around here was in Pebble Creek here in Hickory. There was a racquetball court in there, and it was concrete walls. I mean, we would just slam into the side of the wall. It was so much fun, and I still occasionally want to play, but that's sort of a dying sport. But anybody ever in the county wants to play me in some racquetball, I would be totally down for that.
Well, Pebble Creek has reopened.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Under new ownership.
Okay.
They still have the racquetball courts. And nobody that I'm aware of has played there or playing racquetball, but we play tennis. They've got good grass-tex courts, which is the AstroTurf with sand.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier on your legs.
My knees are already bad, and I'm not even 40 yet. So, that
Just
would
wait.
Yeah. Okay. Your family's huge into biking. I've known this for a while, and you help your son Brian. He runs. Is it Roddy Bicycle?
It's pronounced roadie.
Roadie.
Just like take on road bikers.
And that's spelled RHODDIE,
Right,
correct?
right,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
And that outfitter is in Blowing Rock, correct?
Right. We're located in Blowing Rock. We were kind of in the downtown area, and we needed more room. And obviously, Blowing Rock can be a hard place to find a parking spot. So we're on Highway 321 right in front of the Food Lion.
Okay.
And
I know exactly where you're talking about.
We've got a much bigger building, and we have our own parking. And we've done, I think, a good job with getting the shop set up.
Cool. Next time I'm up there, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
please do.
Brian in so long.
Yeah.
God, it's been probably 20 years.
I try to go up at least once a week and help him out some. It's working in a bike shop's fun.
Mm-hmm. Do you bike anymore? Are you still biking?
We probably bike more than we play tennis.
Okay. Yeah. I knew Brian. He's huge into the biking, and that's really cool. I've ventured a little bit into mountain biking up at the Greenway in Hickory.
Right.
Which has been fun. I just take the easy one,
sure.
the green course.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit moguls and stuff, but
Yeah. We got Brian and Aaron cycling when they were little guys, and that's carried on for Brian certainly.
Yeah.
And but Karen and I are quite active. When we travel, we always travel with our bikes, and then we've been to Europe twice on cycling trips. One was to the Pyrenees in southern France, and the other was on the west coast of Ireland. That was absolutely our favorite trip.
Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful.
And
country.
we've cycled across the United States, a number of places. But an area who I think people wouldn't think of as being a great cycling place is Washington, D.C.
Really?
They have a lot of greenways. They have a 18-mile trail that leaves the mall area and goes out to Mount Vernon along the Potomac. It's absolutely beautiful. We were up there 2 years ago, and we got there, parked our car, and we never got in the car again until we left. We used our bikes or walked. So,
That's
so
awesome.
we're still enjoying cycling.
It's good, man. Stay active as long as you can. My dad, I got to brag on my dad for a little bit. He's lost like 40 pounds.
Oh, great.
And he's been a water aerobics instructor at the YMCA for a long, long time. But now he's going full board. He goes and works out before. He'll go to the water aerobics and teach the class, and then he'll walk after that. So he's really doing good. I'm proud of him. But yeah, it's good to stay active, especially when you get older. It catches up to you.
Right. You cannot sit down.
Yeah. So I want to leave you with one last. This is a fun question, and so I wanted to see if you could add one dream business or attraction, anything to Bethlehem. The sky's the limit. Like, what would it be? What would you add to Bethlehem?
Well, I will answer this question with a cycling statement.
Okay.
We're going to have 127 improve from Cloninger Mill Road to Ritchie Road. Mm-hmm. On the west side will be a 10-foot multi-use trail for walking and cycling. And it will be a dedicated trail. It won't be in the traffic. And it will cross the new southbound bridge on a totally separate trail. So I think of that as being the centerpiece. The thing I would like to see Bethlehem do is from that new trail along 127, have trails that maybe connect our parks, connect to neighborhoods. There's a real health benefit to cycling. Trails and people getting out and walking. We get a magazine called Rails to Trails, and 2 years ago they did an article about the Swamp Rabbit Trail in Greenville, South Carolina. It's a 14-mile long trail. It runs from downtown Greenville to Travelers Rest. The trail itself, they have calculated, has a $6 million economic impact in that area, but it also has a health impact. And they can do their studies and realize how much it has helped people with weight control and just healthier lifestyle using that trail.
Yep.
So they're very important.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see some more interconnectivity here in Bethlehem with biking. Because, just riding right on the road, it can get a little dangerous.
The traffic's gotten much faster, and we might road ride when we're up in the mountains on back roads or on some of these trips we do. But, funny, when we biked in Europe, they look at you as part of the traffic. They don't look at you like you're in the way.
Yeah,
and you just felt safe.
Yep, I know how it is
safer
here.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, thanks so much for coming in. This was amazing to be able to talk with you, talk with all your accomplishments, all the different things that you've done for Bethlehem, and it was just an honor to talk with you today. And thank you so much for coming in.
Well, I've was so fortunate to come to Bethlehem and work. There were so many wonderful people that were very accepting, and it's certainly home for us. It's been home for 50 years.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, like, if you give in your community, it will give back. And if you can tell the people that really care about the community and people that are just kind of here, existing. And that's what I was hoping to try to accomplish with this, is just connect more people and find the good, and also try to help from the bad a little bit too. Yeah. So again, thanks for coming.
All right. Well, thank you for asking me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
All right.